everybody. Welcome to Wednesday afternoon. I am especially excited today because I am going to imaging for the first time next week. So, my name is Lee Hayes. You get to see me every other week. And I want to know as you're joining, are you going to imaging in National Harbor outside of DC? I will be there. I will be with the Gap speakers over at the tables where they're selling books and doing Q&A. And I want to meet you. So it's always fun meeting meeting these people that I almost get to see every other week. So put down in the chat now if you are joining us at imaging. So put that down there now. And in the meantime, today we're going to be talking about digital marketing. Because no matter what business you have, I was talking to Chris just before we went live, regardless of what your technical skills are, if you can't market yourself, you're going to struggle in business. Okay, we're going to have a couple people I'm just saying who are saying hi to from Decorah, Illinois. I love it. Hey, Jax, don't know where you're calling from, but welcome. Woohoo, can't wait for imaging. Yes! Okay, like to go. All right, well, you've got to be there if you can. Yes, I am. Excellent. See you there, Jesse. Hi, Patricia. Who else do we have? Rita is going. Yes. Karen's going. Yes. Hello from Washington, D.C. Hopefully you'll be there. You're right next door. Hi from New Jersey, my home state. See you there, Dave, hopefully. And Christine, hi there. Got a few more people, and then we're going to get rolling. Nelson's in North Carolina. Atlanta. Hopefully it's warmer in Atlanta. Let me tell you, it is cold in Connecticut today. And one more. Who do we have? We have Thomas coming to Imaging USA. See you there, Thomas. Please keep writing in the chat. And I see more people are coming. Fantastic. Love to see you there. And please share this training when we're done so more people get to hear about it and learn also about digital marketing. So, Chris, let me give you an official welcome and let everyone know who you are. So, Chris Cheetham-West is today's speaker. He's an international speaker, an author, and the president of LR Training Solutions. Formerly, he served in a position at Google where he managed the area of marketing key products. He will help you save time and money by utilizing the best tools online. Chris is the author of Digital Marketing for Results, How to Focus on What Matters. And his book has been named one of the best digital marketing books of all time by Book Authority. Chris has worked with teams at global brands. He's worked with Mercedes-Benz, Canon, lots of other companies. He is listed as one of the top 50 Black professionals and entrepreneurs of Texas by DMARS. And his business was awarded the Comcast Rise Grant in 2021. Chris is all that, and he knows all that about marketing, which he's going to share. So welcome, Chris. I'm going to let you take it away and help us with our digital marketing.
Yeah, thanks for the introduction. So I look forward to sharing some useful tips. And thanks for bringing me on. So throughout this presentation, you're going to think about different types of ideas to promote your brand and to grow your business. And so by the end of this presentation, you're going to learn tips that you can implement literally within the next couple of hours after this. So whenever I present, I like to give people tips that they can make happen really quickly. This way that they feel like they are taking action and they're growing their business immediately. So I want to go over 4 different areas when it comes to growing your business as a photographer. One is being consistent, because I feel that's important in any type of business that you do. And 2 is social, which is social media platforms. I mean, majority of us are on social media, but just figuring out how to really utilize it to our full advantage. Instead of just looking at it and posting every now and then, we're going to learn tips on exactly what to do to get you the growth that you need. And also search. So we're going to talk about search engine optimization, like coming up higher on the rankings and getting good reviews. And also not only that, but we're going to look into your actual website. So that's right, your web page is important, because many of us have web pages, but we got to realize that there's only so much time we have in order to get their attention when they come to our web page. So first off, let's think about being consistent. So back then, when I first started my business, I would probably post once a month. And this was, I would say, it worked a little bit. I let people know about my brand and my new business that I was starting, and I was excited about it. And I said, hey, you know what? I'm posting on social media once a month. It's great. You know, people know about my business. And every now and then, when I'll meet somebody in person, I'll say, hey, I see that you started this business. It was great. But one year I decided, you know, how about I start posting a little bit more? How about I start being more consistent online? And that's when my business changed, because one thing about being more consistent in promoting your photographer business is people will know more about what you do, and they'll take you more seriously, and they'll see that, hey, this person, they're doing this on an ongoing business on an ongoing basis, and they know exactly what they're doing, and they have all this experience. So when I started posting consistently, telling people about my business more often during the week, that's when things grew. So think about what you're doing right now. So I always tell people and audiences that you may be doing the right tactics, but you just need to do more of that tactic. So let's say, for instance, you're posting once a month on Instagram or Facebook or whatever platform you use. How about increasing that to 3 to 4 times a week? And so this way, you're more consistent in the eyes of your audience, and they understand that they can connect with you, and they understand that what you're doing. And because the challenge is, you might have heard this, but many people, they don't decide to buy until they've heard about a brand over 7 times. So that's a challenge, right? So it could be advertisements, or it could be any other types of business, but most people, they want to see and they want to make sure that they understand and connect first. So the key reason for that is trust. They want to be able to trust that you know what you're doing. They want to be able to trust that they know exactly what you offer, versus them just giving their money to anybody that they see post one time. So that's one of the major reasons why consistency is so important. And another reason why consistency is important is because it gives you the experience. It lets you know how and what to post, and how to be effective, and what works. Because let's say, for instance, you post once a month. Guess what? You never really know what your audience really wants to see. But the more you're posting, the more consistent you are, the more you're sending out maybe email newsletters, you're always getting better at what you're doing. You're always getting better at marketing your business. So that's one of the things I realized once I started being more consistent, is that, hey, now I know exactly what type of photos people like. I know exactly what type of content people like, in order to make an engaging post, and in order to get customers. So that's actually doing yourself a favor, is posting more, because you're going to get more information about what the audience likes. And then in turn, you're going to grow your business. So second, let's think about social media. So we're all on social media. You can put in the chat like what type of platforms you currently use. So what type of platforms you currently use in the chat right there. So is it Facebook more? Is it Instagram more? Is it LinkedIn? Is it Twitter? So as photographers, you're probably on Instagram a lot, right? So when it comes to social, there's so many different types of opportunities. And I like to recommend that use 3 to 4 platforms that you really feel that your audience is using. So the audience is there. So Dave said IG. Okay, great. Once somebody said Facebook most. Great. So somebody said Facebook and Google and Insta. Perfect. So you want to figure out what is the platform that your audience is using. And from there, you can figure out exactly what type of content to post. So first you got to understand is, we talked about consistency. Now think about the type of content you're posting. So let's say, for instance, you heard me say earlier that, hey, you need to post like 3 or 4 times a week more often. You might be thinking to yourself like, hey, what exactly do I post? So I always tell people, think about education, entertainment, and promotion. That means that sometimes you're educating the audience because people like to be educated. Other times you are promoting, and other times maybe you're entertaining, such as sharing viral content that's on the web. And so when it comes to education, think about this way. If you did a post about how to choose the right photographer, or how to choose the wedding pose, or how to pose correctly at your wedding photography, at your wedding shoot, These are all items that people really need to know. Maybe it's your current customers, your past customers, or your potential customers. If you're consistently giving out some of these tips, let's say, for instance, a year later when maybe somebody gets married or there's a graduation or they just want to have a photo shoot in general, guess who they're going to think about? They're probably going to think about you because you've been providing solutions and value to them for the past years. And a side note about that, sometimes when I first started, I would think, hey, they say post on social media, I'd post and then I wouldn't get business. But I realized that this is a consistent long game that you're looking at. You want to think about building this audience and building this trust. And these people, 6 months, a year later, these are people when they think about photographer, guess who? They're going to think about you because you've been providing this content. So don't automatically think that, hey, I didn't post and nothing happened. Because people are watching. People are consistently watching what you do and what you're promoting. So that's one thing to think about. And when it comes to the content, so you have the promotional content, that's when you're promoting services such as, hey, I want to promote my business. Here's what I offer. I offer these type of shoots. I offer videography, offer this, offer that. That's when you're promoting. And then of course you have the entertaining. So have that as a good mix and you'll be surprised at how much content you have. Because I work with many different types of businesses and photographers are in the category of the business that has a whole bunch of content. All right. So some businesses, they feel like they don't know what to post and they don't have the content, but photographers, they have huge amounts of pictures, all this type of video. You want to consider that type of content. And you may have also noticed that some of the content that goes viral is emotional content. So for example, whenever I post a picture of myself on, let's say for Facebook, I might get maybe 20, 30 likes. When I post a picture of my wife and I, it gets hundreds of likes for some reasons. I don't know what it is. But I started realizing maybe that's because it's emotional content. So photographer business, you're in a perfect situation because you have emotional content. So if you've seen a reel on Instagram, maybe the groom is crying or the bride looks really happy, most of the time that's because it's emotional content. So you want to think about the shoot that you just did. What emotional pictures can you use and post those? Even if it's a video, post those as a reel. So think about the emotional content. And also think about how can you reach more people and get more shares. So that's the idea too, getting more shares and getting more people to see the content. So whenever you're doing the shoots, you can ask people to share the behind the scenes, or you can share the behind the scenes. I was talking to my photographer a couple of days ago, and he was saying that behind the scenes pays off. So you're posting behind the scenes of how the shoot's going, and guess what? This is accomplishing two tasks. This is one, showing the quality, what you're doing, and also letting people know that you're busy and you're working photographer, right? So behind the scenes, you can even share, so you can get permission from the people that you're taking a photo of and have them share or you share. But in general, it's going to be really beneficial. And then when it comes to photography, hashtags are super important. So super important when it comes to people finding it. So I always tell people whenever I go to a different city to present, I go to Instagram, I do a search, I use hashtag Memphis Barber or hashtag Atlanta Photographer. And so you want to think about not only just using general, but different hashtags that reach your audience. So if you're in Atlanta, or even if you're in a different country, you got to think about what are all the different types of hashtags that people will use if they were in Atlanta looking for a photographer, right? So it could be hashtag Atlanta photographer, hashtag Atlanta photographers with an S, hashtag photographers and videographers, or videographers in Atlanta. So you want to not just think about the basic standard hashtag, which is hashtag photography or hashtag Atlanta photographer. Go in and think about all these different types of ways people are searching, because that's personally how I found some of the past photographers. And you want to think about not only your local market, but what if somebody is traveling from a different city? What would they type in? They might not know the smaller cities around you, but what would they type in if they're traveling from a different city? So using those. And so all-hashtags.com is a really good one. So all-hashtags.com. So this will give you the top hashtags based on what you type in. So that's what I would recommend. So a lot of questions here about Instagram. So it's one person says, is there a rule that you should not repeat hashtags? Say if you copy and paste the same hashtags on multiple posts, does that reduce the level of visibility? Yeah, so that's a good question. So you always want to vary up your different hashtags. So you don't want to use the same exact set all the time, every time, because the idea is what hashtags is you want to make sure that the hashtags relate to the photo. So what I would recommend is changing them up, making sure those hashtags are specifically about the photo you are posting. Otherwise, you can get the shadow ban that what ends up happening. Right? So many different ideas when it comes to social. And right now, at this moment, you want to think about reels. So reels are like right now, Instagram is promoting that so much because they're trying to compete with TikTok and other brands. So if you post reel, it automatically gets a lot more views. So you want to use, if you have videos, you want to use that. And even if you're not a videographer, you can use this as a behind the scenes portion. And guess what? Those hashtags are going to get seen by more people, and it's going to automatically be promoted to the people that are being seen that are in that specific market. So think about those and think about the different types of platforms. So many different ideas when it comes to social. And yeah, feel free to continue to share this video and also put your questions in there, and I can see if I can answer them throughout this session. So when it comes to other ideas with social media is don't avoid just putting small amounts of text on your bio on any of your platforms. Because I'm going to talk about search engines later, but think of everything as a search engine these days. Think about it. When we think of search engine, we think Google, we think Bing, we think Yahoo. But in reality, think about LinkedIn, think about Facebook, think about Instagram. We go there and half the time we're searching. So the text that's in your bio on all these platforms, Facebook, Instagram, LinkedIn, make sure you're putting what you do. Photographer located in Houston, videographer located in Houston. You can even put hashtags in there and even have it in the name of your business page because everything's a search engine. So putting more content in there, the more, the better. So when it comes to search, so any questions about, let's see what we got for as far as social. All right, so we have how do you get those reels seen outside of the people who already see you? Great question. And that's when hashtags come in. So if you use hashtags, that's exactly what happens. It's like, and also think about it. If somebody's in Houston and they're looking for a photographer, they type in hashtag Houston photographers, your reel is going to show up. Of course, as long as your profile is public, of course. So that's the idea. And then, of course, encourage people to share your content with other people's and share to their audience. Right? One quick idea when it comes to social, while we're still on the topic, is asking questions to your audience. So remember, the idea with social is to get more engagement. So, for example, you can ask a question such as, hey, where do you like to take your photos in the city? Or what do you like most about your photographer? Or what do you like best when you're working with a photographer? Or how have you chose your photographer in the past? So all these questions will be good because that creates engagement and people want to share their opinion. It could be as much as, hey, I'm trying to find new places to shoot my photography. What are places that you recommend? So this will get more comments and more engagement, and it will drive awareness to your brand. And not only that, but it's showing people that, hey, you're a photographer. Right? So you're posting that content and it's getting a little bit more engagement. All right. So think about that. So let's see. Let me answer one question. People talk a lot about doing BTS video, but if you are a solo photographer, who shoots that video while you are shooting photos? Yeah, that's a good point. So sometimes for me, when I had my photographer out, I had my wife create that video. So maybe you can bring a friend or whoever's around. You can do a quick 30-second video or 50-second video, or you can have somebody that's around the area. But yeah, that's a good question. And really, this doesn't have to be a long behind the scenes video. It could just be 30 seconds. It could be 45 seconds. Or you can have a video of you getting your equipment ready. So there's so many different ways that you can try that out. I think, okay, Jacqueline answered that question as well. But yeah, so yeah, tripods as well. Yeah, so that's great content. All right, so we talked about being consistent with your brand. We talked about social as well, making sure that you're posting a variety of content and you're posting more often. And we also talked about the power of hashtags for a photography business. So now let's move on to search. So that's when you think about that, specifically the Google, Bing, and Yahoo. So whenever you type in Houston photographer, or whenever you type in the term wedding photographer, what comes up in Google? Somebody, you can type it in the chat. What comes up in Google when you type in wedding photographer or Atlanta photographer, or something like that? What comes up? You put in the chat. So there's so many different areas that come up within Google. So if I were to do that search right now, I did a search literally earlier before this, and guess what comes up? You have some paid advertisements, you have some Google business pages, and then you have the organic search results, which is everybody's website. So when I first started at Google and I was going around promoting and talking about how to grow online and how to grow your business using Google tools, one thing that was interesting is only restaurants really benefited from Google Places, the business page. But guess what? Now is a huge opportunity for all types of businesses to make this happen when it comes to your brand as far as Google business page. So here I'm gonna give you a quick tip that you wanna make sure you write down. So we've all heard to get recommendations, right? But think about specifically getting reviews for your business page. And when you get reviews, ask people that use your service, tell them, hey, please write a review on my customer service, or please write a review about the service you received. Because what's happening in Google right now is they're ranking the Google business pages based off of the words that are in reviews. So for example, if I type in wedding photographer Houston in Google, I'm going to get business pages that come up, but some of the reviews are going to say, hey, he was a great wedding photographer. He was a great photographer for our wedding. So encourage people that are writing reviews to write specific types of reviews, such as the service that they receive. That's going to be huge. So this is literally can help you get on the first page next week if you talk to your people that are getting reviewed. Not only getting a lot of reviews, but make sure the words in those reviews are key. So try it out right now. Try it out in the session. You can type in, let's say you type in teeth whitening in the city that you're in, teeth whitening, Dallas. Most of those reviews are going to have the word teeth whitening in there. So definitely check that out. All right. So when it comes to the other part of search, you want to think about your actual website. So consider what terms are you actually trying to figure out, that you're actually trying to target. So whenever I started writing my book, I told myself, you know what is a popular topic? Is it digital marketing or is it online marketing? So what should I name my book? And I use a tool called Google Trends, and it told me that digital marketing is trending a lot more than online marketing. So guess what? I named my book on digital marketing for results because I know people are searching for that more. So you do the same thing. Think about what are people searching and then use that term more often on your site. So that could be on your page, on your about page, that could be on your homepage. So if it's wedding photographer Atlanta, use that term more often in your website. And when it comes to search as well, one thing I like to tell people is more is better. So we've heard the term less is more, but more is a lot better when it comes to ranking on the search engines. So for example, you want more pages, more links, more content, more text on your page so you can be found a little bit more. Because that's how Google finds people. Google finds people specifically based off the words in the content and the links that are in their website. So for example, let's say for instance, you're a photographer and you also do videographer services. Instead of having one page that lists all your services, how about you have separate pages for each of these services? So one for photography, one for headshots, one for graduation, one for wedding, one for videographer. Because guess what? All those pages are going to now be searched a little bit more by Google. And now you're going to be ranking higher for terms like videographer, graduation photos, wedding photos, whatever you decide to do as far as your business. So more pages, the better. So another example is in your about section, instead of having just 3 sentences about who you are, how about increasing that to 3 or 4 paragraphs about your business? Because what I recommend is more content. So what I do often is every week I try to add about 1 sentence to my website. Because one factor is the consistency in your content, in that your content is always being updated. Because let's say, for instance, you started a website 5 years ago and you never touched it. Guess what? That's not good for Google because they don't know if you're out of business. They don't know what's going on. So consistently update your website is crucial. So like I do, I add 1 sentence every week to my webpage, or adding 1 image to my page. All right. So someone says, does adding keywords to your photos help on search engines? Yeah, great point. So I talked about this at a conference I was at last week, and I do with my clients. So some people, they might go in and go to Google search. They type in something like wedding photos in New York. So if you want to be on the first page of the image searches, guess what? Instead of just always uploading your photos to your website, and the photos have something such as a file name such as img456345.jpg, change those file names to Houston photographer, New York photographer, New York videographer, New York wedding photos, and guess what? You're eventually going to be on the first page when it comes to those image searches. Huge tip that you can literally use today and get good results when it comes to that type of content. So we talked about consistency. We talked about social media, hashtags, using emotional content. We talked about search reviews. So remember to make sure you have those reviews set up and getting them to use those terms. And we talked about putting those keywords in your website, the keywords that you want to be ranked for. And because you want to think about maybe even having a blog once a month, and this could be going over tips on how to choose a photographer, more about yourself, anything that can create that consistent content when it comes to your search. And lastly, I want to talk about web pages. So web pages, meaning that when it comes to people landing on your page, you only have so much time. So my website and some of my clients' websites, many times people only land on the website for like 30 seconds. So within 30 seconds, you want to think about how can you grab their attention. So that could be done by having an emotional photo, 2, credibility, maybe reviews, and 3, a call to action. So everything that you want people to see should be on your homepage before people start scrolling, because we never really know, if people are going to scroll all the way down. So contact us page, a call to action right when people get there. And even if you have a contact form, some people tell me that they hate filling out the form. So make sure you have an alternative way. So right next to the contact form, it could be something like your email address or your phone number. But in general, make it easy for people to connect with your brand. So that's one of the straightforward things that you can do on your web pages. So many tips we went over: consistent content, social, search engines, and web pages. So be sure to share this and can post your questions in the chat as well.
And I'm going to snag you real quickly. I know we're at the end of our time, but we have like 60 seconds left. There have been a few questions about, especially about Instagram and Facebook. What do you think of organic searches versus paying for the post? Is there any benefit? Should people be paying for posts?
Yeah, so eventually you want to work your way to organic, because that's the most natural, because people trust organic more. But if you're just starting out, I would definitely recommend paying. So you can pay to target your audience. So there's something you can target by income, by location. And what this is going to do is going to drive people to your page initially. And then from there, you have an initial audience to work with. But test it out. Everything is about testing.
Fantastic. Well, thank you so much for joining us, Chris. It's been absolutely amazing. I took so many notes while you were talking about upping my own game. And to everybody else, I look forward to seeing you at Imaging. I saw some people mentioning the snow and the COVID, and as far as the snow goes, if you've never been to a Gaylord resort, once you're inside there, you are just in this little heavenly place where you never have to leave again. They have trees and paths and restaurants, and you are just comfy cozy once you're in there. And COVID, I think Jose, further up, if you look, he wrote where you can find the protocols that they're following. PPA is being very careful. We're going to have masks, we're going to have sanitizer and all that. But if you check it out, scroll up a little bit, under one of the Professional Photographers of America posts, Jose put it there for you. See you really soon. And then for PPA EDU Live, we'll see you in 2 weeks. Thanks, everybody. And thanks, Chris.
Have a good one.
Bye-bye.